In C++, a statement is a unit of code. Here in Xcode, I've opened a working copy of working.cpp. For example, on line 7, you see a statement that calls the library function puts. A statement is always terminated with a semicolon. Now, if I build and run this, you see it displays the hello world message there in our console. And we may think of a statement as being a line of code, but if I take all of these different elements of this statement and I put them on separate lines, you'll notice that it still works just fine. I'll save this and run it, and you see it still does exactly the same thing. So technically speaking, a statement is a unit of code. It's not necessarily all on one line in C++. But a statement is always terminated with a semicolon, and you see that semicolon at the end there. If I take that semicolon out and I build and run this, you see we get an error message that says it expected a semicolon after the expression. It says expression, but in this case, an expression is serving the same purpose as a statement. An expression is anything that returns a value, whether or not the value is used. An expression may be part of a statement, or, as in this case, it may be the entire statement. So let's see some more examples. For instance, if I declare a variable here, call it an integer x, and I assign a value to it with this x equals 42, and now instead of this whole put statement, I'm going to use a printf. I'll say x is %d new line, and I'll put an x there as the argument. And so what this printf does is it displays the value of x, and you notice that I have my variable x here as an argument to printf. This %d is a token for printf to know that that's where it puts the integer value. And we'll get into more details about printf later in the course, but for now, when I build this and run it, you notice it says x is 42. So this expression here on line 8, x equals 42, is an assignment expression. It's assigning the value 42 to the variable x. This x reference here is actually an expression all by itself. It's an expression that returns the value of x, which is 42 at that point in the program execution. In fact, if I were to get rid of this line altogether, I could put that x equals 42 as the argument to printf. It's still an expression that returns an integer, which is exactly what printf is expecting. And when I build and run, you see we get exactly the same result. Now I can put all kinds of different expressions here. I can say 42 times 12 plus 14. And when I save and run that, we get the value 518. And because of something called operator precedence, that again we'll learn more about later, I can put this 12 plus 14 in parentheses, and now it will add the 12 and 14 to give us 26, and then multiply that 26 times 42, and we'll get an entirely different result, 1092. So an expression is anything that returns a value. And expressions may be part of a statement, as in the case of this printf, or it may be an entire statement, as when we had the assignment on a line by itself. Again, we'll go into much more detail later in the course, but for now, you understand what an expression is and generally what a statement is. So we'll go ahead and we'll delete our working copy here. We'll run clean, clear my console, and get prepared for the next lesson.